For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Shannon. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss freedom and the law. Welcome, Raymond.
Thank you.
What exactly were you aiming to achieve in linking law and freedom?
You know, I've got a legal background, and what I'm doing in the first place is trying to sort out my own mind, because for a lot of my life I dealt with law and taught law that I didn't respect. And I was trying, in relation to the Bashir affair, to indicate to people that when you have contempt for court, it's not the same thing as refusing to obey apartheid law. We're now dealing with law that bears the rights of people. And as the Judge President said there, that once you start disrespecting the courts, all the edifices of democracy will be broken down one by one. So that he was linking respect for the courts, for respect for the law, and I was arguing in the article that the components of law in South Africa today have a strong connection to freedom. At the same time, I was at pains to indicate that freedom is not something that's finalized, not in the Freedom Charter, not in the Constitution, not in the law. It's something that we can get new ideas, but also the new possibilities. In the 19th century, there were famines and people had to die. Now in the 21st century, no one has to die, because there is a scientific capacity to meet the human need to feed yourself. That is a human liberty that can be met. Now it's not met, not because people are unable to meet it, but because some are more greedy than they are willing to meet the needs of those who are hungry. So I was trying to make this connection, and also to argue that we have to respect legality. When Parliament acts as it's done in violation of the Constitution, it's making a statement not only about a procedure, but a statement about the freedom, which is a hard-won freedom, a freedom which is embraced in law, embraced in the Constitution. At the same time, it's important to understand that the way in which law operates in South Africa, in Britain, a number of other places, is in order to sue someone, or in order to defend yourself as an accused or as someone who's been sued in a civil case, you have to be able to afford a lawyer, unless you're going to conduct your case yourself, which is very hard to do. Now, in Kandla affair, the architect says that he is innocent and he's prepared to defend this case. And someone was indicating that this could go on for years and it's going to cost millions. So that you have this barrier to whatever the law may say. We have some systems of legal aid, and we don't really have a well-developed system of public defenders. So in order to make the law work for ordinary people, it has to be accessible. Now there are some NGOs that assist people and communities, and we have to examine what is entailed. There's one way of doing it where you come there as a group of lawyers, you look at the problem, you solve it, you go back to the community and say it's solved. Now that way of doing it does nothing in terms of empowering the community in relation to their problems. Now in some cases it may well be impossible to draw on organizations, because let's say the people who are victims of xenophobic violence in most cases don't have organizations. So in most cases, you're working with individuals. But in regard to, let's say, shack dwellers and rural people, there are some NGOs and there are some research institutes who have taken the communities, got testimony from them, got them to go and give their testimony in court or in Parliament. And when they gave testimony in Parliament, it was a key factor in temporarily defeating the traditional courts bill. And I think this is a very important thing, that we try to strengthen democracy not only by winning cases for people, but by involving them in winning the cases.
What do you think of the claim of the Alliance that there is what they call overreach by the judiciary, that they are making decisions that are not properly of the job of the judiciary, that they are doing what is the business of the elected legislature?
Yeah, or the executive. You see, I think it's very important that judges are not elected, so they must not disguise their own political preferences or their own individual morals as legal pronouncements. Now, this can come out in the way the law is applied, but this can also come out in sentencing, because I remember in the apartheid era they used to say something like, the public will not tolerate this, that and the other. And in fact, they meant the white public under apartheid. Now, in the present situation, it's very important that judges navigate this area carefully, because they have got powers which they did not have under the apartheid era, to read the Constitution and look at what government has done or the legislature has done and declare it to be illegal. Or to interpret the law, sometimes there's a gap. Sometimes the Constitution does not cover, or the law doesn't cover something. They have to make a decision which really amounts to making law. When they do that, they must be conscious, A, that they're not elected, but they must look at the spirit of the Constitution. There's an American former judge and scholar, Benjamin Cardozo, who used to say the great generalities of the American Constitution have a meaning and significance that changes from time to time. So what the law is today is not necessarily what the law will be in a year or two's time, because some things may have happened which make it necessary to read these gaps in a different way, or to modify some interpretations. As I've said, they must be cautious. I don't myself believe that there's been overreach. I think that people must understand that having the majority does not determine your the quality of the laws or the actions that you enact or you carry out, because they may be legally deficient, and that must be tested not by your majority but by the Constitution, and the courts have been charged with the responsibility of making that decision.
Thank you very much for your insight. That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about freedom and the law.